Move or improve? That is the dilemma many homeowners are facing, and more are staying put. Here with tips on expanding your living space, Tom Kraeutler, the host of the nationally syndicated Money Pit Home Improvement Radio Show. Tom, welcome back.
Thank you.
So I love this whole idea, but I know it's super hard. How do you decide when you should move and which you should stay put and improve?
Well, there's a lot of value, obviously, to staying in your own neighborhood. You're comfortable there. You know the schools, the community. You may be close to your job, and so on. So staying put is always the number one choice. And there are ways to improve your house so that you can stay there if your needs are changing. You know, an addition, for example, has a high cost-to-value ratio, so you pretty much can get a good ROI on that most of the time.
I love return on investment when it comes to real estate.
Yeah.
So is it ever a bad idea?
It can be a bad idea. I mean, even though it's got a pretty good value, you could still lose money when you sell if you're not there long enough. You've got to really sit there for a while. You're not going to get a dollar-for-dollar return on investment. You also don't want to overbuild for your neighborhood. That's a common mistake people make. If you have a 3-bedroom home and you're going to change it to a 6-bedroom home, and it's the only 6-bedroom home on the street, you're not going to make any money on that.
Too much. So hidden costs.
Yeah, well, some things that folks don't think about. For example, increased heating and cooling costs. You know, your existing system's not going to work. Most additions have 3 exterior walls. They need their own system to actually function properly. More maintenance, higher property taxes. You're driving your value up. You're going to spend more on property taxes. And, of course, there's the emotional cost of it.
What do you mean by that?
Emotional cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's all fun and games when you're starting, right? You're really excited. But when the contractors are there 6 days a week and it's dirt and it's dust and it's chaos, you know, that wears off pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly. I've been there. That is tough. All right, I want to hear some horror stories because you've worked as a home inspector.
Yeah.
You've seen the worst of the worst.
So there's no easy way to do this if you're going to build an addition. One of the most common things I used to see is people would take a patio, right? Now remember, a patio is a slab, maybe 4 to 6 inches thick. First of all, they would decide maybe they'd screen it in, right? They put some walls, some windows.
Right.
And now maybe they want to put some furniture out there. So they take the screens out, they put windows in. And pretty soon, the sliding door comes out, they're calling it an addition, and it's on a piece of concrete that's right on the dirt and it's falling away from the house.
So what's the downside of that? You can't heat it, or what happens?
Well, no, it's actually not built structurally correct. I mean, the foundation has to be 3 feet in the soil. Another big mistake that we see people make is they think taking a garage, converting it to living space is a smart thing to do. But no, because, you know, if you're going to do it, you got to go all the way. You got to get rid of the garage doors, put windows in, make it look like it never existed in the first place. The worst thing is when you pull up to a house and you're thinking about buying it, you go, oh, it's got a 2-car garage. Guess what? The doors don't open because they nailed them shut and they converted it to some sort of living space.
And people want the garage, right?
They do. It adds a lot of value. And, you know, people make decisions based on whether or not a house has a garage when they buy it.
One of the things that I've seen that's always sort of frustrating when you're out looking for houses is that addition doesn't really match the rest of the house.
Yeah, and that's a really good point because you've got to have an architect involved here. And if the architect's doing their job properly, it's going to look like it was always part of that house. You really shouldn't be able to tell visually the difference between the addition and the original house if it's designed to blend in like it should.
Okay, last thoughts here. What should you absolutely be careful of?
Well, first of all, you want to make sure you go as green as possible. That's really important. And you can do that now.
Why?
Well, because you're going to get good return on investment. You're going to cut your energy costs. And you can
By the time you sell that house, everybody's going to expect those kinds of improvements.
Absolutely. The other thing to think about is what I call the might as well factor. If you're going to have 6 new windows put in with the addition, why not add a few more while the contractor force is still there? It's going to be less expensive to add those while you're at it.
You sound like you've sold a few things in your life. You say, don't do half a job. What does that mean?
Well, like I said before, don't go halfway. If you're going to do the project, make sure you do it correctly. You need permits. You know, there's requirements that towns have in terms of how much structure you can have on your property. Do it right, because when you come time to sell, they're going to be looking at all of those documents, you know, and if you didn't do it right, if it turns out you didn't get a permit, you didn't get a variance, you're going to be in big trouble.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That can be a nightmare. So I have to ask you about this study that showed that there's a Starbucks effect.
Yeah.
If you buy a house or build a house near a Starbucks, you increase the value of your home. That's a stupid number. 96%? No,
actually, I think what it was is they did a survey, and they found that between 1997 and 2013, the value of homes in an area where it had a Starbucks went up 96% compared to 65% in just normal appreciation. So there was about a 30% bump, right? So, you know, we always say that the 3 most important things are location, location, and location. Well, apparently being near Starbucks also helps.
So that's a location that matters.
Exactly.
Tom, great to see you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Be careful getting home.
I will.